Hello, Anime VISOR here,
and SiGNUM,
with a review for Green Snake, a Chinese animated movie currently available on Netflix.
Is that really something someone named Anime VISOR should cover?
Well, you can find Green Snake on anime catalog sites like My Anime List and AniList, and considering I've also covered the occasional manga or live-action adaptation, yes, I think Green Snake fits within the channel's wheelhouse.
Then when you're ready, fill the viewer and me in on Green Snake.
No problem. Except first, you need to know about Whitesnake.
The British hard rock band?
No, the animated movie that Green Snake is a sequel to.
Green Snake is actually a sequel?
It is, so let's first go over Whitesnake. Just to let everyone know, I'll be using the localized names for the characters and places. It's how the subtitles were, and it's just easier for me. So apologies if you prefer the original Chinese names, but I would most likely just butcher them, so it's probably for the best.
Agreed.
Whitesnake was released in 2019 and is based on the Chinese folktale Legend of the White Snake. I'm not super familiar with the folktale, but it has had various adaptations over the years, such as a recent live-action adaptation that I don't think has anything to do with the movies, but does draw from the same source material. Somewhat similar in the West, we've had a bunch of Romeo and Juliet adaptations over the years. The Whitesnake animated movie is an action romance that follows the white snake demon Blanca, who loses her memories and falls in love with a human, a man named Zwan who rescued her, which strongly displeases Blanca's sister, the green snake demon Verta. Blanca and Zwan then set out on an adventure to find a way to rescue Blanca's memories. The story itself is decent, but where it really shines is in its look and animation. It's a very good-looking animated movie, and at first glance, you'd be forgiven if you thought it was something Disney or Pixar made.
I just remembered, haven't you mentioned Whitesnake before?
I have. I briefly mentioned it during the Loop on the Third, the first, movie review when I was discussing the content rating. I wanted to let others, specifically parents, know what type of content they could expect in Loop On, because I didn't want parents to be potentially caught off guard like with Whitesnake. While Whitesnake has some potentially scary or fearful moments for young kids, it's not too out of the realm from what you'd expect from a movie like that. However, parents probably weren't expecting a blatant sex scene in an animated movie that looks like Disney or Pixar made it. So anyone who is considering checking out Whitesnake, I think it's available to rent or buy on Amazon. There again is a little bit of a content warning for you.
And what about Green Snake?
I'll go into more detail later, but it has very similar content to Whitesnake, except for no blatant sex scene, so a tad more family friendly. But stay tuned or skip ahead if you want a more comprehensive parental advisory. Getting to Green Snake, it's also known as Whitesnake 2, The Tribulation of Green Snake. It was released in China on July 23rd, 2021, and was released here on Netflix here in the US on December 1st, 2021, which at the time of recording has been dubbed in several different languages, including English and Japanese, in addition to the original Chinese. Taking place sometime after the events of the first movie, Blanca and Verta battle the villainous Buddhist monk Fa Hai, which results in Blanca being imprisoned in the Lei Feng Pagoda and Verta being sent to Asuraville, sort of a city of lost souls. The movie follows Verta as she tries to survive and find a way out of Asuraville, and find a way to release her sister from the pagoda.
Soda?
Similar to Whitesnake, Green Snake looks really good, very picturesque at times. It's not arcane level, but what is, it still has that very Disney or Pixar-esque look for the most part. If I have any major complaints on that front, it's that the movie seems to be intended for 3D viewing. In the theater with 3D glasses is probably the best way to watch this movie if you could. There are a lot of shots of things like weapons or motorcycles coming at the screen. It probably looks really good in 3D, but only being able to watch it in 2D, I personally find that it gets distracting after a while, but that could just be me. However, I will give it credit that the 3D didn't seem like a little gimmick in a few scenes. It's pretty much throughout the movie, so credit where credit is due. Story-wise, I ended up liking Greensnake a little more than Whitesnake. Whitesnake is a more standard action story. Go here, do this, find the thing, here's the plot item, which is fine, but we've seen that time and time again. And while Greensnake has that element as well, it takes a while to get to that. About the first third of this movie is pure survival. Verta has her goal to free her sister, but it takes everything she has to survive in the strange world she finds herself in. You see Verta go through so much, it's actually a little bit of a relief when she can finally start the more standard action plot. She's finally able to start her journey to save her sister. That of course leads to other issues for her and her companions to deal with, but all that time watching Verta trying to survive made her relatable and sympathetic. It's very good character development. Verta is sort of an antagonist for most of the first movie, so you need the audience to care about her now that she's the protagonist here in the second movie. And I think Greensnake does a good job at doing that, making the audience care about Verta.
I don't really care what it's like here. I just want a way out. I have to save my sister.
As far as the action goes, Greensnake is packed. It's about a 2-hour and 15-minute movie, and it's almost non-stop action. The first hour of this movie is almost pure action. Running, fighting, shooting, car chases. Then it takes about a 10-minute break to sort of calm down, get some backstory and exposition out of the way. Then the next 45 minutes is back to action, with the last 15 to 20 minutes wrapping things up.
Seems like a fun movie, but don't you need to watch Whitesnake to understand this movie?
Not as much as you would think. Watching the first movie, you'd probably have a little more attachment to Blanca, but I think Greensnake does a good enough job establishing that Verta really cares about her sister, and that's the driving force of the movie. The first movie maybe helps establish the world setting a bit more. There's a lot of Chinese Buddhist elements in these movies, but I think Greensnake can stand on its own pretty well. Really the biggest continuous plot point between the two movies has to deal with Bao King Fox. She helps out the sisters in both movies, but in both post-credit scenes is shown to be up to something. What that is or where that'll go, I don't know, but at the very least, it doesn't seem that her story is done.
Soon I'll have my revenge.
Getting to the Parental Advisory, Greensnake is categorized under the Adult Animation tab on Netflix, and is rated TV-14, so it's probably a little less likely that anyone would think it's a Disney-like movie, but just in case and considering that Whitesnake may have caught a few parents off guard, I'll go over it here. There's a decent amount of fighting and violence, blades, guns, attacked by demon spirits, that kind of thing. However, anytime anyone quote-unquote dies, they evaporate into mist, similar to a certain moment in The Avengers.
Or for the anime reference, like in the Fate series.
Correct. Thanks, SiGNUM. There are a few creepy or scary scenes like ghostly watery hands ripping out people's obsessions, as well as dealing with concepts such as death and reincarnation. There is a brief shower scene with Verta, and some of the dialogue and mannerisms of characters can be a bit provocative. But overall, I'd say it's similar to what I said about Lupin III the First. If you feel your child or children are old or mature enough to watch something like Indiana Jones, they'll probably be okay with Greensnake. Overall, I enjoyed Greensnake. Like the first movie, it looks really good, even if I think all the stuff flying at the screen, because it was originally intended to be viewed in 3D, is a bit distracting. I think it did a very good job at making Verta relatable and someone you wanted to root for. It has a lot of good action and is a thrilling adventure. I also think it stands well enough on its own that you can watch it without needing to watch Whitesnake.
Seems like the sign of a good sequel.
Agreed. I think Greensnake is worth checking out, even if you haven't seen the first movie. With all that said, what are your thoughts on Greensnake? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay up to date on the latest videos.
There's also Patreon, if you want to support the channel that way.
As always, I've been Anime VISOR.
And I've been SiGNUM.
Thanks for watching, and see you later.
Bye bye.